You're destroying your chances in 7 seconds, and the psychology behind why is darker than you think. Here's what the short didn't cover. There's a neurological kill switch that activates in the other person's amygdala the moment you broadcast uncertainty. Think of your brain as a filing system. When someone approaches you, your limbic system is running threat assessment before you even register their face. That snap judgment? It's already made. The 7-second window isn't when they're deciding, it's your only chance to override what their nervous system already flagged. Behavioral confirmation bias. Neuroscience tells us it's a self-fulfilling prophecy loop embedded in the prefrontal cortex. When you expect rejection, your micro-expressions leak cortisol markers, raised shoulders, shallow breathing, eyes that dart and apologize. The other person's mirror neurons fire, and here's where it gets dark. They don't just observe your anxiety, they start experiencing it as their own discomfort. Picture the reward center as a slot machine. When you walk up seeking validation, you're essentially handing them a broken lever. Their brain registers, this person needs something from me, and the ventral striatum, the part that processes social reward, goes quiet. No dopamine spike, no curiosity, just obligation. Evolutionary psychology explains this. Our ancestors survived by avoiding people who signaled weakness because weakness attracted predators. 10,000 years later, that same circuit is running in the back of their skull. Think about the last time someone at a party locked eyes with you from across the room, then walked over with their head tilted down, voice apologizing before they even spoke. Hey, sorry to bother you, but you felt it immediately. The energy drain. Now flip it. Someone makes eye contact, holds it half a second longer than comfortable, crosses the room with their chin level and opens with, "You look like someone worth talking to." Same words, different nervous system response. One triggers avoidance circuitry, the other triggers approach motivation. But here's where we separate amateurs from people who actually understand psychology. Confidence without calibration reads as threat. The dorsal anterior cingulate cortex processes social pain. When someone comes in too hot, too certain without earning it, that same region lights up like you've been insulted. Healthy confidence is, I'm comfortable taking up space. Unhealthy is, I'm taking your space. The difference shows up in whether you pause for their micro-expressions or bulldoze through them. The arousal misattribution effect. The zygonic effect's cousin nobody talks about. Your autonomic nervous system can't distinguish between anxiety, attraction, and excitement. They all spike cortisol and adrenaline, same elevated heart rate, same pupil dilation. The only difference is the story your prefrontal cortex tells about what's happening. Here's where it gets interesting. When you show up with energy, grounded but electric, their brain has to label that physiological response. If your body language says threat, they tag it as discomfort. If your tonality and presence say reward, they tag it as chemistry. You're literally programming their interpretation before conscious thought kicks in. The insula processes interoceptive signals, the bridge between body and emotion. You control what signal you send, they control how they interpret it, but you set the frame. Example 1. You approach someone at a coffee shop. Your hands are still, your voice is steady. You're taking up exactly the space your body occupies. No more, no less. Their pupils dilate slightly. Heart rate ticks up. Their brain labels it interesting. Example 2. Same approach, but you're fidgeting with your phone, speaking slightly too fast, laughing at your own jokes before they land. Pupils dilate. Heart rate spikes. But now their brain labels it uncomfortable. Same physiological response. Opposite interpretation. The difference isn't what you said. It's what their nervous system decided you meant. Real talk. This is where we separate healthy from unhealthy psychology. Some people weaponize this by creating artificial tension, negging, or running manipulative push-pull patterns. That's cognitive load theory exploitation, and it leaves psychological debris. The ethical application is simpler. Show up congruent. If you're genuinely interested, don't hide it behind false disinterest. If you're nervous, let your body settle before you approach. Their arousal misattribution works when your signals are clean, not when you're performing. The certainty principle in social dynamics. Human brains are prediction machines running on Bayesian inference. When you enter uncertain, their predictive processing systems flag an error. This person hasn't decided if they should be here. That uncertainty creates cognitive load. And cognitive load kills attraction faster than anything you could say. The anterior cingulate cortex monitors prediction errors. When someone approaches with decision already made, I'm worth knowing, and I'm here to find out if you are too. Their brain relaxes into pattern recognition. No threat, no cognitive dissonance, just curiosity. But here's what gets dark. The Dunning-Kruger effect means actual competence often looks like humility, while incompetence looks like confidence. The key is earned certainty. You've done enough inner work that you're not performing confidence. You're reporting facts. Picture two people entering a room. Person A scans for approval, checks reactions, modulates behavior based on who's watching. Person B enters, makes deliberate eye contact, positions themselves where they want to be, and exists without apology. Person A is running external validation loops, exhausting to witness. Person B has already decided they belong. Magnetic because they're not asking permission. This shows up in everything. How long they hold eye contact, whether they fill silence with nervous chatter, if they laugh to diffuse tension they created. But here's what gets uncomfortable. Certainty can mask narcissism if you're not careful. Peak end rule. Psychology says people remember how you made them feel at the most intense moment. And at the end, someone who's truly certain doesn't need to prove it. They ask questions. They make space. They're interested, not just interesting. The unhealthy version walks in certain they're the prize. The healthy version walks in certain they're enough. And curious if you are too. But here's what gets dark. And this next part will piss some people off, but psychology backs it. Most people are running scripts written by their 15-year-old selves. The attachment theory patterns formed in high school, anxious, avoidant, disorganized, are still running your approach behavior 2 decades later. You're not actually experiencing the present moment. You're re-experiencing past rejections and trying to avoid them. That's why the 7-second rule works. It forces you into the present before your trauma response kicks in. Here's the framework nobody teaches. Confidence isn't what you feel. It's what you do when you don't feel it. The mere exposure effect says people are attracted to familiarity, but confirmation bias means they're scanning for evidence. You match their existing beliefs. Your job in 7 seconds is to create enough pattern interruption that they have to form a new category for you. 7 seconds. Sign 1. You make eye contact and hold it until they look away first. Not aggressive, just unbothered. Sign 2. Your voice has a descending tonality at the end of statements, not the rising inflection of questions seeking approval. Sign 3. You take up exactly the space your body occupies. No apologetic shrinking, no aggressive expanding. Sign 4. You pause after speaking, comfortable with silence, not filling dead air with nervous laughter. Sign 5. You ask questions that require thought, not just polite acknowledgement. Watch someone who's mastered this. They enter, scan the room once. Not frantically, but deliberately. They position themselves in open space, not corners. When they approach, it's direct, but calibrated. You seem like someone I should meet. Lands different than, can I buy you a drink? One presupposes mutual value. The other begs for transaction. Their body language stays consistent, whether you're receptive or not. They're not performing for your approval. They're extending an invitation. Behavioral confirmation bias means they're mirroring your anxiety or certainty. Arousal misattribution means they're labeling their physiological response based on your frame. The certainty principle means cognitive ease beats cognitive load. Most people think attraction is what you say. It's not. It's whether their nervous system tags you as reward or threat before you finish your first sentence. So here's the test. Next time you approach someone, run this experiment. Decide you're worth knowing before you make eye contact. Watch their pupils dilate when you're congruent. That's not manipulation. That's honest signaling. Subscribe if you want the breakdown of what happens after the first 7 seconds, because the psychology gets darker and more useful. Drop a comment. Which of these 5 signs are you missing? Let's talk about what's actually stopping you.